What are you doing out there, Mr. Pigden?
I'm coming in!
I just went into Suite 650 looking for you and Mrs. Pigden.
Well, I was actually outside admiring the view. It's magnificent. Are you coming, darling?
Excuse me.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Will you check in into the reception right away, please?
Of course.
Crazy honeymooners, eh?
You're missing your debate, Mr. Willie?
Well, I'm on the way. I was just waiting for the loo. After you. George! George! George!
Here we are. Room service! Hello? Yes, this is 648. No, this is not one of the reading rooms at the British Museum. Yes, this is 071-839-5097, but this is the Westminster Hotel. Madam, I would know if I worked at the British Museum. George Pigden? Oh, yes, I know Mr. Pigden. A message. Message from who? Nurse Foster. And what's the message, Nurse Foster? Mrs. Pigden is worried about tonight and wants to hear from her son immediately. Well, you tell Mrs. Pigden there's no cause for worry. Her son's honeymoon is going like a bomb.
George, come on, George. Now, Jane, you guard the door while George and I take the course of all our problems into 650.
I say!
La 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 Thank you, Mrs. Pigden. George, one more rehearsal and we'll be ready for the Conservative Conference Cabaret. You both must be tired, George.
Dead beat.
Well, Fred just doesn't have the energy that you do, George. Fred was George's best man at the wedding this morning. Had far too much champagne.
Right.
But he's feeling better now. You'll be all right, Fred. Now, what's your problem?
What? Oh, your dress.
Oh, thank you kindly. Now, if we need your services anymore tonight, I'll ring and ask for you personally.
Right, sir.
By the way, what's your name?
Cromwell.
Cromwell. What's your first name? Oliver?
No, Harold.
Oh, Harold, here you go. You go and get yourself something very nice.
Thank you, sir.
Harold, here. Open a guest house somewhere.
Oh, thank you, sir. Oh, my God.
Miss Worthington, as soon as you put on your dress, go down to reception and check in as Mr. and Mrs. Pink. Now, George, you put these onto him.
Oh, my goodness.
He'll look better. Miss Worthington, as soon as you put your dress on, and checked in. Go home. Now, George. Oh, Richard Willie. Nurse Foster.
Nurse Foster!
Well, I'm sorry you can't talk to George right now. No, his hands are full.
How's Mother doing?
Yes, I'm the curator of the British Museum. Yes, I am the curator of the British Museum, but I'm staying here overnight at the Westminster Hotel. I'll ask George to ring you as soon as possible. Thank you.
What happened?
Your mother is upset that you're going to be late home tonight.
Is that it?
No. She's also upset that you got married this morning without telling her.
Married?
How on earth did she hear about that?
Oh, my poor mother!
Well, forget about your mother, George. We have to worry about the dead body and Miss Worthington.
There you are!
Strangers in the night, exchanging glances, wandering in the night. What were the chances we'll be sharing love before the night? Just practicing for the Conservative Conference Cabaret. And Mrs. Pigden is on the way to check in. I'm sorry for the delay.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Pigden. Who on earth is that?
That's George's brother Fred.
Your brother Fred?
Fred is not staying.
Is your brother all right, Mr. Pigden?
Oh, yes, he is. Aren't you, Fred?
Well, he just had far too much champagne at George's wedding this morning.
It's always possible to find a room for him here, Mr. Pigden.
Oh, that's all right. Fred has to get home. It's a hell of a journey.
But he doesn't look too good, Mr. Pigden.
Fred always looks a little pasty. Don't you, Fred?
Are you sure you feel up to it, Mr. Pigden? Mr. Pigden?
Fred is rather deaf.
Are you sure you feel up to it, Mr. Pigden? It's no trouble to find a room for you here, Mr. Pigden. Are you in a fit condition to go home, Mr. Pigden? I only hope he's not driving, that's all.
No, he won't be driving. We are trying to keep death off the roads.
Well, good evening then, Mr. Pigden.
You were brilliant, George.
I feel sick.
Well, come on. Let's get him into 650.
Well, we can't get him into 650 now.
Why not?
Why not? I tell you why not. The manager has spent the last 5 minutes talking to him, and he thinks he's my brother Fred.
That's right.
I knew I should listen to you.
Well, we should start thinking clearly, George.
We can forget about the royal we now.
Well, you were in it as much as I was. What about the ventriloquist act with the dead body?
Yes, well...
and the honeymoon with Mrs. Pigden?
yes, well...
and the act with the tipsy brother Fred?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Next time I'm voting Labour.
All right, George. But you know, the manager saw your brother Fred wearing a raincoat, scarf, jacket, black shoes, and sporting sunglasses.
That's right.
If he wasn't wearing a raincoat, scarf, jacket, black shoes, and sporting sunglasses, but wearing something entirely different, he wouldn't be recognized as your brother Fred.
Mr. Willie, we can't strip a dead body.
Well, it's no time to be squeamish, George. Let's get him in the cupboard.
What are you going to do?
Calling Oliver Cromwell.
Who?
Harold, whatever his name is. Room service. Is that Harold, my friend? How are you? Yes, it's the rich gentleman in 648. Well, George, Harold, I need a favor. Do you by any chance have some clothes? A jacket, trousers, shirt, shoes, that sort of thing. Yes, there's lots more from where it came from. Well, yes, certainly, that's so nice. Would you please bring it up to 648? What's that? We're collecting for Oxfam. Who's that?
Me, Jane. Quick, open the door.
What are you still doing here?
I saw Ronnie at reception.
Ronnie? Who's Ronnie?
My husband.
Husband? He's supposed to be in Lotion.
Ronnie's at reception.
He can't be.
He is. I got the shock of my life. Thank heavens he didn't see me.
What the hell is Ronnie doing in the Westminster Hotel?
I don't know.
I knew something like this was going to happen.
Shut up, George. And this is no time for you and your brother to be praying. Get off your knees.
Well, that's all that's left to do.
Hello? Nurse Foster?
Let me speak to her.
Nurse Foster, you should really stop pestering George at this point. Well, George's mother is always having hysterics. And it's no concern of yours or Mrs. Pigden who George got married to this morning.
Oh my God!
I assure you, George will be home as soon as he's finished with his marital duties.
My mother's probably having a heart attack.
Great. This way, it'll keep Nurse Foster off the phone for 5 minutes. Now, come on, George. Let's get him up.
Come on, Fred.
Mr. Willie, what about Ronnie?
What about Ronnie? I'm sure there's a perfectly simple explanation as to Mr. Worthington's unexpected arrival. Who is that?
Open the door!
It's Ronnie.
Is it room service?
If you don't open this door, I'll kick it in!
Well, why don't you get her into 650?
Well, I think that's the best idea you've had this evening.
Mr. Willie's got a terrible temper.
But don't worry, I think he can handle it. Come on.
Why?
I thought you were the waiter.
I'm Ronnie Worthington.
I'm Richard William. Pleased to meet you.
I bloody well know who you are.
That comes from having too many cameras in the House of Commons. I thought you were one of my constituents, and that's why you wanted to see me in person.
I'm Jane's husband.
Jane?
Jane Worthington.
Jane Worthington.
She's one of the secretaries over there.
Just doesn't ring a bell.
Look, you can drop all this. Where is she?
Where is who?
My wife, Miss Worthington.
Oh, Miss Worthington is your wife. Miss as in Ms.
Where is she?
Well, what would a female secretary be doing in a suite of a junior government minister?
It's no good, Mr. Willie. I've had her followed.
Followed?
Little tete-a-tetes, corner cafes, cups of tea.
Well, if you're suggesting what I think you're suggesting...
I'm suggesting that to get to Felixstowe, you don't have to change at the Westminster Bloody Hotel!
Bed now?
Oh, there's no bloody beds going to be made tonight.
Non capisco.
Push off!
Bye-bye.
My dear young man.
Don't you dear young man me. While you were booking in, Mr. Baker was standing right beside you.
Mr. Baker?
My private detective.
Private detective?
That's right. And while I was waiting over the road, Mr. Baker clambered up the fire escape, got through the window of 648, and was arranging to catch you at it, my old chum.
So when I was booking in, Mr. Baker, the private detective, climbed up the fire escape
That's right.
and came in through this window.
You've hit it right on the head.
Oh my.
Yes. Well, I've been waiting for him for over 45 minutes. So I reckon he must have seen plenty by now.
But you don't know your wife is here.
Yes, I do. I've been waiting opposite. I saw her sneak through after you checked in.
You possibly did.
I definitely did.
Well, I can assure you, young man, your wife is not with me. She's with George Pigden.
George, who?
George Pigden. I've been trying to protect him. He's my parliamentary private secretary. One of the biggest rams in Westminster.
Don't give me that. You're the one Jane's been having all those private meetings with.
That's right. To dissuade her from having this infatuation for Mr. George Pigden. He's a very experienced womanizer. Been through the female members like a sex-mad rabbit.
What do you take me for?
A very intelligent man, Ronnie. You go down to reception and see if a Mr. and Mrs. Pigden have checked in.
Look, if you're having me on...
Ronnie, I'm as distressed as you are.
George Pigden, you say?
I'm even more distressed than you are, Ronnie.
If you're lying to me...
Well, Ronnie, I'm a member of Parliament.
But don't forget, there's still Jack Baker.
Yes, I won't forget Jack Baker.
He'll have kept his eyes open.
Yes, but he won't have much to say about me.
I'll be back.
The pleasure will be mine. Come on, George. George, I want you and Jane here right away. Come back to 6:50. No, you can't stay there. Ronnie's just got down to reception and he's going to be back to 6:50. I don't have time, George, but suffice to say that if he catches you, we'll have 2 dead bodies to contend. Who is it?
Room service! Your bespoke tailor has arrived.
Just leave it here.
Right. I got married in that suit, you know.
Harold, our situation has deteriorated.
Oh, lovely.
I need a wheelchair
A wheelchair?
for an invalid.
Has someone taken ill?
Several of us. But I need a wheelchair for only one.
Don't they know these suites have doors to them?
What happened?
Well, I'm just dealing with Harold.
What did anyone, for God's sake?
Now,
Yeah, are
Harold,
you going to spend the rest of your honeymoon toing and froing on the hotel balcony?
Harold, can you get me a wheelchair?
Well, the hotel does keep some in times of emergencies.
Well, time's up, Harold.
Right. £10 shall suffice.
You clean me out, George. I mean, Harold.
That's all right, sir.
Thank you, Harold.
I accept all major credit cards.
What happened?
Mr. Ronnie,
What do you want a
please,
wheelchair
what do you
for?
want?
Gosh, this is worse than question time. Now, do you want the bad news or the worst news?
Isn't there any good news?
No.
For God's sake, give us the bad news.
The bad news is your husband has had us followed by a private detective.
No!
And you mean to tell me there is worse news than that?
Yes, he's the man hanging in the cupboard.
Oh my God!
How could Ronnie behave in such a deceitful way?
How indeed?
Well, unless it's for me, I don't see where the wheelchair fits in.
Well, George, he's a private detective. He can't be found in either one of our suites. So, we put him in a wheelchair and wrap a blanket around his legs.
And then what?
You push him to Clapham Common.
Clapham Common?
That's right. It's on your way home, George. Won't take you more than half an hour. Like I said, the man's dead. It won't make any difference to him where he's discovered. So, we put him in the wheelchair and you push him to Clapham Common. And dump him in the bushes.
Dump him in the bushes?
Mr. Willie, what about Ronnie?
Well, that's one more reason for George to emigrate to Clapham Common. I'm afraid I've told Ronnie another white lie.
What?
I've told him you're trying to seduce his wife.
What?
Well, he found it hard to believe, so he's gone down to reception to check if Mr. and Mrs. Pigden have booked in.
And we have!
That's right, suite 650.
Mr. Willie, do you know what you are?
Yes, if I keep going like that, I might end up leader of my party. Who is that?
Ronnie, bitch.
Now listen, both of you, get in there.
Do we have to?
Well, you can either come face to face with the dead body or Ronnie.
The body!
Well, wait. While you're in there, put him in Harold's wedding suit.
Is this really necessary?
It will delay identification, George. Now hurry.
God, you could teach the mafia a thing or two.
No need to be impatient.
You are bloody right. Mr. and Mrs. Pigden, suite 650. They're opposite.
Opposite? That's too much.
I banged on the door, but there was no reply.
Wasn't there?
So I kicked the bloody door in.
Bloody hell.
They're not in there though.
Aren't they?
Oh God!
Now, Ronnie, get a grip on yourself.
It's all my fault.
No, it's not, Ronnie.
Yes, it is. That's why she's gone off with this bloke Pigden.
Why?
He's better at it than I am.
No, you're very good, Ronnie.
No, that's what the trouble is.
What is it, Ronnie?
I'm no good in bed, Mr. Willie.
You're very good, Ronnie.
No, I just can't keep it going.
Well, you'll only make it harder on yourself.
Mr. Willie!
I was just trying to explain something to Ronnie.
I'd rather not hear what you're explaining.
Well, Ronnie seems to have some problem.
I don't usually behave like that in public.
Oh, I'm very pleased to hear about it.
I'll take care of it.
You'll first take care of Mr. Pigden next door.
Pigden!
Ron, it's okay.
It's not all right. The door has been kicked in and the furniture thrown all over the place.
Well, Mr. Pigden will pay for all the damage.
It's not a question of payment, Mr. Willie. I can't have this kind of a thing going on at the Westminster Hotel.
I understand.
I am all for couples consummating their honeymoon, but this is appalling.
Honeymoon?
Get.
Neither Mr. nor Mrs. Pigden are anywhere to be seen.
Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't you go down to the restaurant? They're probably there. Just pop in on your way.
What on earth are you doing here, Cromwell?
Answering a call, sir.
Who's that for?
Who's this for, Mr. Willie?
My young friend here.
You're new here, aren't you?
You can go, Cromwell. Thank you very much.
Right, sir.
I do not know who you are, young man, or what you are doing in Mr. Willie's suite at this time of the night. I want you to get out of the hotel as soon as you got yourself together. In future, you'll be much wiser, Mr. Willie, if you're accompanied on your overnight stays by your wife.
Bloody hell, I feel lousy.
Ronnie, go home. You'll feel much better.
I'm not going anywhere until I've found that bloke Pigden.
Like I said, he's probably down at the restaurant.
Right. And when I do find him, the first thing I'll do is hit him right in the crotch.
George, did you hear any of that?
Yes, but it was the last bit that brought tears to my eyes.
Wasn't Ronnie magnificent?
Magnificent?
The way he declared his love for me. I've never heard him talk like that before.
Oh, God.
And now he's had the guts to bring his little deficiencies into the open.
Miss Worthington, will you kindly talk to your doctor about all this next week? Now, did you put him in that suit?
Yes, I did the best I could.
Well, all right. Come on. Let's go. Well, I'm so glad that this is Guy Fawkes Day. Now, you just go down the fire escape and go home.
But what will I say to Ronnie when I get back?
Just tell him that George Pigden dragged you here by force.
Thank you very much.
God, I don't think I can face Ronnie just yet.
Well then, why don't you go to the House of Commons?
But I can't sleep there.
Why not? Everybody else does. All right, George. It's walkies with Brother Fred. Now, I'll go and hold the lift for you. I'll give you 30 seconds. You go to the bedroom, get our friend here a blanket.
Okay?
George, if you ever get married and get into a mess, remember you can count on me.
Well, if I meet Ronnie, I think marriage will be out of the question.
Don't do that! I've been waiting by the lift. Come on, let's go!
He's gone!
Who's gone?
The private detective!
What did you do, George?
I didn't do anything.
You must have put him someplace.
No, I promise you, Mr. Willie, he's vanished.
You must have put him someplace for safety or something.
No, Mr. Willie, you went down to get the lift. And I went to the bedroom.
How can you just lose a dead body?
Mr. Willie, you went to the lift.
Ah!
I went to the bedroom to get the blanket. The body was sitting here in the wheelchair when I went to the bedroom. It couldn't have been more than 30 seconds. It was less than 30 seconds. When I went into the bedroom, he was sitting here in Cromwell's wedding suit and son. Mr. Willie?
What did you do, George?
I didn't do anything.
Well, he's back here where he was an hour ago.
I promise you, Mr. Willie, when I went to that bedroom, he was sitting here in the wheelchair.
Well then, somebody's on to us.
On to us?
I smell blackmail, George.
Do you?
Yes. Why put him back there? Why not just call the police or the hotel security?
Oh, I knew I should have spent this evening with Mother.
Shut up, George. Don't worry about your mother all the time. Come on, let's go.
Where are we going?
Plan A.
What's plan A?
Clapham Common.
Clapham Common.
We have no other option, George.
There's a blackmail they might be on to us. There's always plan B.
What the hell is plan B?
Well, tell the truth.
Are you mad?
Well, it does happen, you know, Mr. Willie. People do it these days. It's quite normal. You and Miss Worthington found a body. That's it.
Well, there's something missing. His sunglasses.
Oh, they're in his coat pocket.
Well, listen, if we resorted to the truth right now, you know, we'll have untold suffering. Just think of poor Mr. Worthington. He's in such a state that he'll probably dump himself over the balcony. Now, they're trying to send us a message, George.
You think so?
Yes, they're playing games with us.
What are they going to do next?
I think we'll get a note
A note?
demanding money.
Well, Mr. Willie, if there is a blackmailer, he might follow me to Clapham Common.
That's a chance we'll have to take.
Oh, will we?
Mr. Willie,
This is for you.
What's that?
A note.
A note?
That's right.
From whom?
Me.
For one wheelchair, £10?
Your brother's taking a turn for the worse, hasn't he, Mr. Yes, sir. Our friend just passed on. Passed out. Must be all the dancing that did it.
Very likely.
As a matter of interest, why is he wearing my wedding suit?
Fred's going to a wedding.
Oh, is he? He's already been to yours today.
Fred's going to George's other brother's wedding.
You have another brother.
Yes, Bert.
And Bert is getting married on the same day as him.
Right, George and Bert are twins.
Oh my God! Ah! Isn't it a bit late for Bert to be having a wedding ceremony?
Well, yes, it's being performed in conjunction with midnight mass.
Mr. Willie, I can't find Pigden or my wife anywhere.
Good evening, sir.
Who the hell are you?
The richest man in the hotel.
They're hiding somewhere.
Well, Ronnie, why don't you just go home, relax, and we'll sort it out in the morning?
I'm going to sort it out right now, starting with George bloody Pigden.
Dr. Livingston.
And who is the chap in the wheelchair?
Somebody's brother.
Whose?
Mine. Harrington Willie. Dr. Livingston is with Harrington all the time. Poor Harrington has lost his brains completely.
You tend to forget about other people's problems when you're up to your eyes in your own.
Well, Ronnie, you go home, knowing fully well that Mrs. Worthington has been faithful. I know that.